All right, so India's new budget for the upcoming fiscal year has just dropped. And let me tell you, it's way more than just a spreadsheet of numbers. It's a really bold roadmap for where the nation is headed. So, what's the big idea? Let's get into it and break it all down. Right off the bat, we've got this tagline that honestly captures the entire spirit of the budget. Viksit Bharat. That means developed India. But the real key is that second part, balancing ambition with inclusion. This tells you everything you need to know. It's a double-barreled approach. Go for massive growth, but make absolutely sure everyone gets a piece of the pie. And this slide, this is the philosophy driving the whole thing. The message couldn't be clearer. They're all about making concrete moves and deep structural reforms instead of just chasing short-term popular wins. This is a really crucial frame for understanding the big strategic shifts we're about to dive into. Okay, so let's officially put a name to the big vision. The entire budget, every policy, is built around this long-term goal of Viksit Bharat. And they've put a date on it, 2047. That's the year they're targeting to hit developed nation status. So what does Viksit Bharat actually mean in practice? Well, it's not just about hitting some magic GDP number. Think of it like a three-legged stool. You've got sustained economic growth on one leg, continuous structural reforms on the second, and a development model that's all about people on the third. All three have to be strong for it to work. So the big question is, how are they going to do it? Well, the first major pillar of the strategy is all about firing up the economic engine. The budget lays out a super clear plan to boost both manufacturing and services, seeing them as the twin jets that will power this flight. And you can really see that dual focus right here. On one side, you have the raw industrial power of manufacturing. On the other, the global high-tech reach of the services sector. The strategy isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about hitting the accelerator on both at the same time. So let's get into the specifics. For manufacturing, the focus is laser-sharp on these strategic, high-value areas. We're talking about a version 2.0 for the semiconductor mission, a huge push in biopharma, and even dedicated schemes for things like rare earth magnets. This is all about building muscle in the industries that are going to define the future. Now, for the services sector, the game plan is totally different. It's all about making things simpler and more attractive. The budget is rolling out some major tax reforms for IT companies. Think automated approvals, faster processes, and, get this, a massive long-term tax holiday for cloud services to get them to build their data centers in India. And here is a number that really jumps off the page. This safe harbor threshold for IT services is getting jacked up from 300 crore rupees to a whopping 2,000 crore rupees. What that means in simple terms is that a much bigger group of IT companies now get certainty on their taxes. That's a huge incentive to set up shop and expand. All right, next up, you can't have all this growth without a solid foundation to build on, right? That's where infrastructure comes in. This budget is signaling a huge investment push into both the physical stuff, roads, ports, railways, and just as importantly, green infrastructure. I mean, this chart tells you the whole story. Just look at the jump in public capital spending. It's projected to go from just 2 lakh crore back in 2015 to 12.2 lakh crore. That's more than a 6 times increase. It's a clear signal that the government is leading a massive charge to build out the country. And here's a taste of where all that money is going. We're talking brand new freight corridors to make logistics faster, a big move to actually use India's waterways for transport, and some really ambitious high-speed rail projects to connect the major economic hubs. The whole point is to create this seamless web that gets goods and people moving efficiently. And this infrastructure plan isn't just about more concrete and steel. It's also about building smarter and greener. They're putting a significant chunk of change, 20,000 crore rupees, into a scheme for carbon capture technology. That shows a real commitment to tackling climate change while they build. And that brings us to the third and final pillar of the budget, which loops right back to that idea of inclusion. This part is all about empowering the real backbone of the economy. We're talking about small businesses, farmers, and local communities. So for the MSMEs, the micro, small, and medium enterprises that are the lifeblood of the economy, the budget is taking this really smart three-pronged approach. It's about giving them access to capital, making sure they get paid on time, and offering them professional help to deal with all the red tape. So let's see how that works in the real world. For money, you've got dedicated funds.
For cash flow, they're making it mandatory to use this platform called Treads, which is basically an online system to get invoices paid fast. And for that professional help, they're creating something called corporate mitras to give small businesses affordable help with compliance.
Now, in agriculture, there's a fascinating shift happening. The focus is moving up the value chain. Instead of just the usual staple crops, there are now these specific programs for higher value products, like coconuts, cashews, and cocoa. Plus, they're pushing to modernize the whole sector by plugging AI into platforms like AgriStack.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. Let's zoom out now and look at the big picture. What are some of the key numbers and takeaways that show the macroeconomic thinking behind all of this?
This right here is the central balancing act of the entire budget. Even with all these ambitious spending plans, there is a very clear focus on fiscal discipline. The goal is to floor it on the growth accelerator, but also keep a firm hand on the wheel to make sure inflation doesn't spin out of control.
So where is some of the money for all of this coming from? Well, here's one specific change to notice. The Securities Transaction Tax, or STT, is going up for futures and options trading. It's a targeted move designed to bring in a bit more revenue from the financial markets.
And that brings us to the final thought. The vision is definitely ambitious. The roadmap is incredibly detailed. The whole goal is to turn India's massive potential into world-class performance. So the ultimate question this budget leaves us with is this: will it all be enough to turn that aspiration into reality by 2047? The map is drawn. Now the journey begins.